Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this week's video is all about wedding planning, specifically winter weddings. So if you're planning a winter wedding here in the UK, then stick around. I'll be talking to you about the advantages of having a winter wedding and also give you a few tips that you may not have thought of if you are planning a winter wedding. So the main advantage I can think of for having a winter wedding is that you can plan for a warm, cozy wedding right from the beginning. You know that the weather is going to be cold, rainy, possibly even snowy. So you'll be planning for indoor activities right from the get-go. Be prepared with lots of brollies, lots of layers in case you're traveling from one venue to another, because you know that it'll be cold outside, but indoors at your venue it will be toasty warm. If you're planning a winter wedding, you're likely to have less stress about the weather because you know that here in the UK it's likely to be grey and dull and drizzly. And if on your wedding day you do get a bright, crisp, sunny day, then it's a bonus. Now the second advantage is that it could well be cheaper in the winter. A lot of venues do special deals for the quieter winter months. Now I personally offer reduced rates throughout the year for reduced hours, but I do know a lot of photographers and videographers would only offer this during the winter months, because they reserve the busier summer months for full day events. Now, as I said, I do offer reduced rates and reduced hours throughout the year, but I do limit those reduced hours for spring and summer, but I expect to do a lot more reduced hours in the winter months. And actually having a shorter wedding can also be an advantage during the winter months. Say you like to have a party and you're generally evening people, then having a later wedding that goes straight into a big party works well, because you don't have to have a separate drinks reception, a wedding breakfast and then an evening party. You can go straight into your evening dinner and then your party afterwards. But in terms of photography, just be aware if you do this later in the day that there will be reduced daylight hours. I mean, it starts getting dark around 3:30 in the south of England in winter. So if you wanted photos in natural light, then I would maybe think about having something called the first look, where you and your partner kind of meet before the actual ceremony and do your kind of portrait session then, so that you can still catch some daylight hours. Now I will do a separate video and blog post about first looks, so keep an eye out for that. I will link to it maybe above or down below when I have done that and when it goes live. Or again, staying with shorter weddings, you can actually move everything forward. So maybe have your ceremony earlier in the day, maybe kind of late morning, and then you can have a late lunch as your wedding breakfast and then sort of go into your reception and possibly not have an evening party and everyone sort of goes home and disperses around tea time. Now that does work well if you have, say, a family with younger children that you want involved and you want to celebrate with, because you still have most of the day to celebrate with them, and then you can, or they could go home kind of earlier in the evening. Now another advantage is that if you are not hot weather people and you prefer the colder months with kind of warm, cozy jumpers and crackling log fires, that kind of thing, then a winter wedding is likely to be for you. And I also think the winter brings with it a different kind of romance. Think kind of winter wonderland, think very luxurious fabrics and very deep jewel-like colours. Think sparkly sequins that works well in the winter. Metallics work well in the winter in terms of fabric. And obviously you've got cozy fake furs, tweeds, velvets. thicker silk satins. And you could also think about maybe having, I don't know, leather jackets, that kind of thing. So you can play around with quite a lot of different, more opulent fabrics for a winter wedding. And again, because it gets dark earlier, then you can think about maybe decorating your venue with twinkling lights, flickering candlelight, maybe choose a venue with log fires, that kind of thing. And obviously, Christmas is in winter, and if you love Christmas, then a lot of venues may have their Christmas decorations up already. Now, obviously, you will have to think about your own taste and decorations, if that will go with your venue's decorations, so do check that with them. But if you love all things Christmas, then you could go all out for a themed Christmas wedding, or even a New Year's celebration. Now, in terms of food and drink, you have different options as well, because you can have things like warming drinks like mulled wine, hot chocolate, hot teas and coffees for your drinks reception if you wanted to. And if you wanted to, you can have that maybe available throughout the day or throughout the evening as well. That makes a nice change. Now, another advantage I can think of for winter weddings is actually the light. As a photographer, I actually love winter light because the sun never goes up high in the sky and it remains quite low, which actually gives the light a really lovely quality about it. You might have heard a lot of people talk about golden hour light in the summer. That's a really good time to have your photos taken because it's very warm and romantic looking. Now in winter, you have that sort of quality to winter light. It's sort of still kind of quite golden. It's like the golden hour, but actually extended. Now, obviously, the only thing to think about is catching that nice light. So if you did want that type of light, then again, think about having a first look or think about maybe having an earlier wedding. Now, in terms of other tips to do with photography, if you did want to go outside for your photos, it might be worth thinking about a second pair of shoes if you didn't want your lovely pair to get dirty. And also, obviously, if you have a long dress and a long train, then it's likely to be dirtier on the ground in winter than in summer. Now, another tip for winter weddings that you may not have thought about is having everything in one spot, doing everything at one venue. If you can't do that, maybe think about having the ceremony and your reception venue to be close to each other. And this is really to minimize the stress of having to get from one place to another and minimizing the journey time and the travel time for you and your guests in case the weather does have an effect on travel on the day. So I started off with some advantages and then went into tips towards the end there. I hope you found it useful. Do please subscribe and like this video. Any little interaction helps me out tremendously here on YouTube, so I'd be very grateful if you can subscribe or like or hit the notification bell. If you've just got engaged or planning a wedding, I do have a 5-part newsletter series that you can sign up for that you might also find useful. I will link to that up above or down below. Do please share this with anyone else who might find it useful. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.